My name is Sarah Smith, and I am an 8th grade math teacher at the junior high. Due to some of our enrollment increasing over the last years, they've taken a lot of our classrooms at the junior high and have built partition walls in the middle and made them into 2 different classrooms. So my classroom is one of those classrooms, so I kind of have half of a room. For the last 4 years, we've had to do some adjustments with numbers. Our classes have just been bigger than 28. And sometimes bigger than 32. So this year, my first hour class, we open up the partition wall. So before first hour, I open up the wall and Mr. Ramirez stays in there and has a class in there. He has about 38 students in that class currently. I cart down the very congested hallway with my cart to get back to my room for third and fourth hour, where Mr. Ramirez fortunately closes the wall for us and we both teach at the same time. So in that process, sometimes because between our rooms is just a partition wall, it can get noisy. We can hear each other teaching through the walls. We have to be very careful. If we're having a quiz or a test, we kind of let each other know that because the noise can carry through that partition wall quite a bit. So my classroom is pretty tight. We have 32, so we have 8 tables with 4 kids at each table in my half room. So it's pretty tight in there. Can cause some problems. It's not always easy for me to get to students to look at their papers. A lot of times I have to just have them pass their paper and then I kind of have to talk over the top of some of the kids. And sometimes we're kind of back to back with chairs, so the kids are really good about it. They do a good job of kind of minding each other in that process. We are limited sometimes in some of the activities that we can do that require a little more space because our rooms just don't have that to be able to get 32 kids up and moving around in that space. So I teach in my room third and fourth hour. I also teach in there for my next class periods, 5th and 7th hour. During my prep period, however, which is at the end of the day, our 8th graders take foreign language. So we have 4 high school teachers that come over to our building to teach foreign language. So those 4 teachers need classrooms. So during my prep period, I actually leave my room and the French teacher teaches French in my classroom. So it's kind of all over the place, and every time I have to leave, I've got to prepare and make sure I take everything with me and my room is cleaned up for that next teacher coming in. And when I'm leaving someone else's classroom, really making sure I take care of that. It's a juggling act. One of the other things that because we have such a small space, it's really hard for a teacher sometimes if you want to pull a small group and sit with them one-on-one and work with them. For me, a lot of my classes, most of the seats are full, most of my tables are full. So there's just no location for me to kind of say, hey, come over here and you come over here and we're going to work together. And so having that space would give me that opportunity to do it, but there is no space to put another table in my classroom.
Hi, I'm Caitlin Meganson. I am the 6th through 12 instructional coach. So I am located at the junior high and also the high school. At the high school, I do have a small office located within the teacher's lounge. Here, there's not an office available, so I usually hop offices when people are out or there's extra space. I will say, being here, I'm working with new teachers who are traveling, so they are completely on carts, traveling room to room. They have a desk in one room, but they have to travel and navigate the hallways with a cart and all of their things during those passing periods, which makes it very difficult for them to be on time to their own classes because they obviously have to wait till all of the students leave the class before. They also sometimes feel like they can't give those visual cues to their students because they're in somebody else's space. So to accommodate that, I did help them get portable whiteboards. However, it's kind of a Band-Aid on a gaping wound because they are smaller. It does make it more difficult for them to be more engaging, perhaps rearrange the room, or do different activities like stations and things like that, because they will have to put that classroom back together for the next teacher before they leave.
Hi, I am Kaylee McGuffey. I am the 6th grade Blue Team special education teacher. I have a focus area in math, so I co-teach math all day. My home base is my classroom, so if we have to pull out kids for small group testing or reteaching, we head to my room, and I am located in the library. I also share that room with the Orange Team special education teacher, and then I share it with our 6th grade teacher's aide, and she's in science and history together. So there's 3 of us teachers teaching 3 separate subjects that we kind of have to schedule our day around each other if we have to share that classroom, because we all cannot fit with all of our students in there at one time. When I move into Mr. Lamphier's class, he has quite a bit smaller classroom, so a full-size classroom cut in half with a barrier in the middle. So when I need to pull my students for any reteaching, small group instruction, we typically use the hallway. It just takes quite a bit longer to go down to my room that's on the opposite side of the building. And so we sit out in the hallway and we do our work out there with clipboards. It's not ideal. Our kids can get distracted really easily, but we just don't have the space and we don't have the classrooms available. At the end of the day, we have BPH, and that typically is in my classroom. But since I share that classroom with 2 other teachers, we spread all of our kids out in the library, and we support our students in there. So unfortunately, I've been taking a whiteboard from Mr. Lamphier's room and dragging it down into the library every day. Our classroom at that time is being used by a 7th grade special education classroom. The 7th grade 2 case managers also have to share a classroom, and all of those children can't fit in that classroom, so they separate those rooms as well. So we figured it was smarter to have all the 6th graders in the library together for BPH instead of trying to do half of 7th grade, half of 6th grade, and then 6th grade in my classroom. So it makes things kind of difficult that way. In an ideal world, we would have little sensory areas in each of the general education classrooms for our student. With Mr. Lamphier's classroom, since there's no additional room because we're all cramped in there, I actually have to pull myself and that student out into a separate location to get those sensory needs met, which is taking class time away from that student, unfortunately, and taking myself away from other students that could also be needing my assistance at that time. When we're in the library during BPH, other classrooms and cannot come into the library. I know Mrs. McFarland used to use it during that time for kids to print or check out library books, but because we have that whole classroom in there, it kind of really limits the time that those students can come during BPH. We would like to do a lot more station teaching in Mr. Lamphier's room, but unfortunately, because we don't have the space to kind of group them out in different locations, it would be us, like one of us in the hallway pulling a group of kids, as one would be at the whiteboard in the front, and then another group would be doing an independent teaching, and I just don't think that's a very good setup with that.